One of the best stories of the basketball season so far, the Fairfield Stags, their head coach, Carly Thibault-DuDonis, here to talk about it. Locked on Women's Basketball starts now.
Ogunbowale for the win.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.
Well, hi, everyone, and happy Thursday to you. I'm Howard Megdal, your host of Locked on Women's Basketball. Delighted to be with you as always. Of course, you guys keep showing up for us the way we're showing up for you. Over 170,000 listeners in November alone, because we show up for you 6 days a week talking about the women's game that we all love. And of course, it is not just me. It is the incredible team over at the nexthoops.com, where we are $9 a month, $72 a year to support over 100 reported pieces every month on women's basketball. thenexthoops.com. Make sure you check it out. Just an incredible team doing remarkable work on the game that we love. And I have had the privilege, as I have been covering this game, to cover today's guest through multiple stops in Mississippi State, at Minnesota, now the Fairfield Stags, with just a remarkable start to the season, ahead of schedule. I mean, look, you're in the MAAC, so you can't have like a net rating in the top 100, right?
We've done our work to do our best to be there early. Absolutely.
Where are you? So it was what, 59 this week? Are you guys? I mean, simply incredible. Best start in the program in 40 years. And, to me, and we're going to get into it, a lot of kind of the nerdy side of why and how it's happening. But as a point of personal privilege, to know Carly was to know that this was going to be a success. To have that 6-1 start was a very big deal. The thing that I think really jumped out at people, that I heard people around the game talking about, was for you guys to go to Rutgers, to beat Rutgers 78-54. And, Coach Weiss Washington has been on the program as a friend. She's building, and you can see it's coming along. And obviously it's at the beginning of that arc, let's say, as it relates to Rutgers. But for you guys to come in to beat a Big Ten team and beat them like that, what was it like internally to get a win like that, to see results match the effort that I know you guys are putting in?
Absolutely. So, for us, we talk a lot about growth and, being intentional with our growth. And so, while that game was a huge statement, it was, for me, I was really proud as a coach to see the growth, because we had just lost to Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt the week before. And we really struggled to, we only lost by 3 and had to kind of make a late push in the fourth to give ourselves a chance to win that game at Vanderbilt. But, we struggled to rebound the ball. We turned the ball over too much. We fouled too much. So there was a few things that we could pinpoint right away that would have given us a better chance to win that game at Vandy. So really proud of our team for taking that week, getting ready for Rutgers, to really pinpoint and address a lot of those issues. And we took care of the basketball. We shared the ball. We didn't put them at the free throw line. We rebounded the ball much better. We out-rebounded Rutgers. So while I was incredibly proud of the win, I was so happy to see our growth, to put ourselves in a position to win and start that game off really strong, because we always say we're a great offensive team when we get shots at the rim and we're not turning it over. So there was a lot of little things within the course of the bigger picture that I was excited to see for the growth of this team.
I would be remiss not to point out, a couple of things on that. Number one, a loss at Vandy. Vandy is 9-1 this year. Vandy is very, very talented. They are a good team who's going to make noise before this is all said and done. But the other thing, and that's critical, right? The out rebounding. I mean, to do that against Rutgers, again, much improved this year. 8 of their first 11 non-conference opponents, they out-rebounded. They were about even on the boards. I got to see them against Indiana this past weekend. Mackenzie Holmes has been known to grab a rebound or two.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own. And it comes back to, and I'm curious about sort of how you build, but the way your team fights. And I got to see you live. I've seen you on film, but I haven't been able to see you live yet, which I will remedy very soon. It's effort. it seems to me, first and foremost. And I just wonder for you philosophically, how much you feel like rebounding does come down to effort as opposed to being able to find individual players who work in a particular way to maximize the rebounding in general. Like, how do you build a team to do it?
Well, first and foremost, for our team, values and standards and things like that, we hold a very high standard just with effort and talking about controlling your controllables. Because while we are a team that can score and shoot the ball much better than last year, you're not going to shoot it great every single night. And so I think my coaching staff does a great job of holding that, those efforts, standards to a high level. But from a rebounding perspective, we know, we may not have pound for pound the better rebounders in some of those types of games. And so we talk about doing it by committee a lot, in the sense of most people's going to send, most teams are going to send back a safety and transition defense or something like that. And then whoever is in charge of boxing them out needs to go and help people who maybe are, outmanned, outnumbered, outsized, whatever it may be. We do switch a lot on ball screens, so we are at a disadvantage a lot. And so we've had to find little ways to counteract that. And a lot of it is just the attention to detail, every single shot, not turning in and standing and watching, and not thinking we can outjump a team like Rutgers, a team like Vanderbilt. A lot of the teams we played, St. John's, Fordham, you can go down the line. And so we've had to be really intentional with the teaching points. And there's a rebounding emphasis in practice almost every single day because of that.
It makes sense. And again, one of the things holding down your rebounding rate overall is you're making too many shots. And so you go back to the offensive efficiency. And we were talking about this off the air, but something that I like to do in my free time is just go to CBB Analytics and dive deep into the stats. And there's so much green on your CBB Analytics chart. But maybe the best number is that you guys are 60.4% from 2-point range so far this year. That is good for third in the country. You're not getting there by taking an unending amount of 3-point shots, although you get a fair amount of your percentage of total points from outside the arc. What is it about this offense that is allowing you to get not just good shot, but great shots on a consistent basis?
We, as a staff, took a really hard look at, not only what we did last year as well, but also the women that we brought in, the people that we return, and how can we mold this into, the most successful and efficient offense. That was not a strength of ours last year. As if you could go back a year, you would not see a lot of green in last year's offense. So I give a huge credit to our staff. We did a staff retreat in, I think it was June, and each of our staff members kind of had some different areas of our team in the game to look at. But one of the big points of emphasis was our offense. So we looked at some of the teams, and I, being in the Midwest when I was at Minnesota, I got to coach against Drake and the Dakotas and things like that. And, we looked at some of those top mid-major programs, and the common denominator is that they all play some sort of 5-out. And then the way that we recruited, what people would call traditional post players, we call road runners. I don't know if you've seen that on tweets and graphics and things like that. We call them road runners because they are versatile. They're non-traditional. They're not big, 6'4", 6'5", and back to the basket. They are able to shoot from three and pass and go off the bounce. So we opened up the floor a lot. And then one of the, we talk a lot about sprint, space, score efficiently, sacrifice. Those are kind of our basketball identity terms. And so it's from a scoring efficiency, we really kind of hone in on the PPP, and we talk about, open layups, getting to the, feet in paint. And then with our space and our spacing, knowing if you draw a second, finding your kickouts, knowing where your slides are to really create that space. So we really emphasize easy twos, easy threes. And if you look at a shot chart, we take very few contested tough twos. And I think that really helps our field goal percentage.
It is a beautiful thing to see. Your mid-range, you have taken 6.2% of your attempts from the mid-range. I mean, it's just an absurdly low number, and it just reflects really good decisions. I would be remiss before we get to break. You talked about the staff, and the elephant in the room, of course, is that in your name is basketball royalty. People see your name and they say, oh, are you related to Blake DuDonis, who was an original writer for High Post Hoops? Is that true? Are you familiar with Blake at all?
Yes. So the DuDonis is in my name is hyphenated. I got married to Blake DuDonis. I probably should know this, but maybe 7 years ago now. I'm not so good with the anniversaries, but he's on my staff as well. And that was a really important thing for me becoming a head coach, is that I was going to be able to hire him. And so, yeah, I'm very fortunate to have him, when I was building a staff and having someone that I knew I could A, trust, but B, was going to challenge me and open up any staff meeting, any room for the rest of my staff to feel comfortable to do that as well. So I have a fantastic staff. I'm so lucky between him and Eric Johnson, who's been in the game for, over 20 years, Erica Brown, who's, just the best. And I'm going to hold on to her as long as I possibly can. And then Alex McKinnon's my Dobo, and Aislinn Flynn's our GA. So I feel really fortunate to have really good people around me that, think a lot of things that I don't. So I think that's a huge part of our success.
No question about it. And of course, please give Blake our best. We're always glad to send people on through the pipeline. University of Wisconsin River Falls' loss was Fairfield's gain. No question about it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get into some of the details, some of the players who make you guys go here in segment 2. But first, going to talk to folks at home about FanDuel, and we're going to talk about Tommy DeVito again, because FanDuel has this opportunity that if you bet $5, FanDuel will offer you $150 in bonus bets if you are a new bettor at FanDuel. So again, you win a $5 money line bet, and again, Tommy DeVito and the Giants, and it's much to everybody's shock. My in-laws can't get over it. They thought the season was over. My neighbors were ready to taunt me. I'm in the Philadelphia area, and they were Eagles fans, and they were going to give me a hard time, and they don't know how to handle it because Tommy DeVito keeps winning. So if you think that Tommy DeVito is the real deal, go ahead and place that bet. You go to FanDuel.com/lockedon for this opportunity. The app, you can use spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Again, that is FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Yeah, the DeVito thing, no one can make any sense of it at all here in New Jersey. That's for sure. So let's talk about something that does make even, let's say, less sense. And that is Janelle Brown. Okay. So if you go to your numbers, right? And so I'm starting to dive in, and these don't make sense. Janelle Brown is averaging 18.6 points per game, 71.6% from the field. She's 73.5 from 2. And you say, oh, okay, well, I know what this is. I just saw Lauren Betts over the weekend, who's 6'7". And, this must be somebody who's just huge, efficient around the basket. And then you just keep going. And Janelle is making your offense go with 4 assists per game. She's making 2/3 of her threes, and she's taking almost per game. So, I had a game. This was my favorite number. She went 15 for 17 earlier this year. Take us through, what is the secret sauce of Janelle Brown for you guys?
I'm so proud of Nelly. She is about as good of a human as you can find, and she's super high energy. I think I just said this the other day to somebody. I mean, she lights up any room. She can make anybody laugh. She makes everybody, kids that come to games, she just makes everybody feel important. And so I'm, as much of anything, I'm proud of her as how she's just continued to grow as a woman. But, from a basketball perspective, last year she had to do a lot for us. Her and Callie had to carry a lot of our offensive load. And so while she was, very efficient still in how she did it, she had to probably do more than we would have liked her to, as far as having to force the issue sometimes. And for her off season, she did a great job of, still being able to get downhill, get feet in paint, make open threes, but do it with poise and taking care of the basketball, not running people over, staying out of foul trouble, things like that. So I think that in addition to, she's got a lot of great teammates around her. And now you mentioned the 4 assists. That would have been really hard to come by last year. And she's now, if people do take her away, they have to pick their poison a little bit. Are they going to take away a downhill layup for Nelly, where she's, like you said, she won a game 15 of 17 on a lot of downhill layups? Or are you going to come off of really good 3-point shooters and, other road runners around her that can create as well? So it makes it a really difficult decision for people. And she's doing an unbelievable job of picking her spots and making those reads.
The year before you arrived, she was in the 30s in terms of the number of shots she was getting at the rim. She's well above 50% now in terms of that. You talk about having the speed to be able to get to the basket, but her ability to finish despite her size is something that I mean, is that taught? Is that something innate? Is that some combination of it? How do you get a player able to do it that well?
It's a combination for sure. I mean, she's got God-given abilities that I could never have dreamed of as a player. But her athleticism allows her to get there, allows her to elevate. She's got an unbelievable jump stop that she's developed with my staff and with Erica Brown, her position coach. She's done a great job of getting to 2 feet more to be more efficient and on balance. And I think that, again, I talked a little bit about the spacing. We've basically taken out a body in the paint. So those decisions, like if people do want to come help, it's really obvious and they're coming from a long way. So now she doesn't have to take, is this an open layup? Is this not? It's a little bit more cut and dry of, okay, I have one-on-one. Let me go get to the rim and score, or helps come and I'm going to, live to see another day. So, it's a little bit of everything, but she's got some talent that she's developed, and huge credit to her and Erica Brown for, developing that poise. But I think her getting to 2 feet has helped her consistency a lot.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, just to kind of bring it full circle, Lauren Betts, who's having a season for the ages out of UCLA, is 81.3% at the rim, and she's 80.6% at the rim, 13 inches shorter. So I absolutely love to see that. But of course, Janelle is not doing it on her own, and we're seeing growth. You talked about Katie a little bit. What is it for Katie that is allowing her early on? Because, again, producing for you and the shooting is not even necessarily where you're looking for it to be. So I just feel that there's even more growth for her as well coming.
Absolutely. Our freshmen, I'd shout out all of them. They've all done a great job and been, really not batted an eye as a freshman and play well. All of them play wise beyond their years. But, Katie's another one that can take some of the pressure off of Nelly to have to do everything. And, last year Nelly had to guard everybody's best ball handler. And, now if Nelly does pick up a quick foul, or we need to move her off of somebody's point guard, Katie is very capable of picking up that slack as well. So I think that's taken the pressure off of her. But Katie can shoot from just anywhere over half court, is in her range. It has no problem doing it. And I love her confidence in her ability to do that. So, she's early on really set the tone to be able to space the floor. And it's another one that can create and get downhill and is a really good finisher as well. So her and Nelly are a great 1-2 punch at that position.
You've made the Hudson Valley territory your own. You are taking all kinds of opportunities for folks out of Jersey. Is a really talent-rich area. I know, obviously, having grown up in Connecticut as well. What feels like the range of circle for Fairfield? When you're having those types of conversations, how do you kind of view what your map looks like?
That was one of the things that drew me to here. I love recruiting. That's one of my niches as far as in women's college basketball. I've loved recruiting all over the country. Yeah. And that's one of the beautiful things about Fairfield is that you can recruit the tri-state area. You can recruit Boston. You can recruit the DMV as far as proximity goes. But you also we're an hour from multiple airports, 3 to 4 airports, including, several international airports in New York City. So you can recruit across the country. You can recruit internationally, which I've also done throughout my career. So currently we have a Brazilian on our roster by way of Florida State. But it's easy for her to get home if she needs to, or to get to, she's got a sister in New Jersey. We've got one from Texas. I just got back from recruiting Chip in Minnesota. I'll continue to recruit some of my old stomping grounds. We have a Canadian coming next year. So you're able to get to a lot of different places from here. And because of our location next to the beach and a great, academic institution, you can draw from pretty much anywhere.
I have heard that even there are some WNBA head coaches who like to vacation up in Fairfield. So, that.
Yes. I don't know if it's or their grand dog. I'm not sure,
It is very, very much a destination, and say not just let's say not just for family or dog related reasons. Before we go to break and into what the future is going to hold, I would be remiss not to just talk about the recruiting piece of it, because you were instrumental in helping to bring the group to Minnesota that is just absolutely killing it so far this year. I know that's always a challenge, right? This is the way the industry works, and going on to different opportunities. But just take me through like kind of let us say pride of experience, even as you're seeing it from afar, seeing what Mara Braun, who is going to play in the league at a very high level someday, and that group of freshmen, now sophomores, and what they're doing here for Minnesota this year.
Yeah, I'm really proud of them. That group was really fun to recruit for a lot of different reasons, but first and foremost, they're great people. And the four Minnesotans got along so well and got a chance to really build chemistry before they ever set foot on campus. And I was bummed to have to leave and not get a chance to coach them, but Lindsay obviously did a great job in recruiting them and that entire staff. And then Dawn's doing a great job, and I'm just really excited for them to continue to kind of build that Minnesota back to what it was when Lindsay played there, and create some of those same opportunities for women in Minnesota.
State of Minnesota thanks you. They're very grateful. I know it firsthand. So we'll be back just talking about the future of Fairfield, the Fairfield trajectory, right after this. But first, here to talk to you about Dave.com. And Dave.com gives you opportunities to level the financial playing field. You download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's all part of Dave's extra cash account. You get advances on the money you need with no interest, and then you settle up later. Millions of people have already downloaded the Dave app to make their finances easier, and you can even build credit by settling up on time. It gives you an opportunity to do that work. So download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba. That's dave.com/lockedonnba. You can get $500 in 5 minutes or less, no credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/lockedonnba. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees do apply. Banking services provided by Evolve, member FDIC. So I think people sleep on the MAAC on a regular basis. It bothers me as a Northeasterner. You have maybe the best tournament opportunity when you go down to Atlantic City. And, and that entire experience, I think, is wonderful. Figuring out where the MAAC fits in the pecking order gets more and more complicated because conferences get more and more complicated. So as you think about this trajectory for where Fairfield can go within the MAAC context, within the idea of that there are mid-majors that build like high majors, where do you see Fairfield fitting in? Is it the Gonzaga of the East? Is it, where, how do you want to build to it?
Well, I think I've been sitting here too long, so my lights went off. There you go. So I was inspired, early on by teams like Quinnipiac and Marist who have made deep runs in the tournament before. So, our league is very strong and there's great coaches in it. And that was something that really drew me to, it was a place that you can do that. And so our goal is to be a team that not only is in the position to try and win our league every year, but to make runs in the tournament and not just be happy to get there. So, we, like I mentioned earlier, but there was a lot of those teams in the Midwest. You mentioned Gonzaga, Florida Gulf Coast is a great example of that. And those are kind of our blueprints that we're trying to follow, where we're recruiting really high level, freshmen transfers that can continue to put us on a national stage and do it in a way that is about the whole team. Like we need everybody. We may not have, and we do have some, quote unquote superstars, but we have a deep group of women that can contribute. So we're trying to kind of follow that. And our goal is to again, win games in the tournament eventually.
And to that end, and it kind of takes us full circle, right? You are not hesitating to schedule hard, to go to Rutgers, to go to Vanderbilt in year two. I mean, that was gutsy as hell. I just got to say. And so you went out and you're doing it. Does it feel as if you put yourself in a position where this is where we go back to, you come to NCAA tournament time and there is a disrespect given to a lot of other conferences and teams within those conferences, you should be in position now. You do what you have to do, right? You can get a seed that allows you a very winnable round one game, right?
Mm-hmm. And so shout out to Blake. You mentioned Blake earlier. We call him the scheduling vortex. So he's done a ton of research, a ton of kind of background of teams in our, at our level and our position, in how they've scheduled non-conference in order to put them in a position to get the best seed possible. So, you schedule those types of top 100 net teams and gives yourself a chance to beat as many 1, 2, 3, as many as you can to give yourself a great situation in the long run. So we started that last year. We knew we weren't, maybe where we are now in year 2, but we brought Michigan to us. We want to schedule and play those higher opponents in the net. And so, and playing them on the road and winning on the road is a huge boost to that as well. So, we're going after early, and we hope that's a message to recruits as well. Like, we're not just talking the talk, we're walking the walk, and we're trying to do that. So, the closer you can creep, as to a 13-12 seed, the better off you get to being able to, again, like we said, win games in the tournament and not just be happy to be there.
I guess the flip side of that is I would imagine that scheduling is getting progressively harder as teams are.
It is, yeah. A lot of contracts aren't done until the spring, so we've had some opportunities no longer be there now.
Well, some folks are going to have to play.
So we just added more things to Coach Blake's plate.
I know that Coach Blake is up for the challenge. Carly, I know you are up for the challenge. As I said, the last time you were on the show, and as I'll say it on the next time on the show, just the trajectory is just going to continue to go. It's wonderful to see. As a point of personal privilege, I'm delighted to see it for you as well. So congratulations on all your continued success. I look forward to covering you for many, many years to come. To our listeners, thank you as always for being part of women's basketball every single day. We will be back with you with a special guest. I'm going to tease to it, but not tell you who it is quite yet tomorrow, but it's going to be a good one. Really looking forward to it. And so until then, I am Howard Megdal, wishing all of you a wonderful Thursday.
Ogunbowale for the win.
Good! You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball.